Have you ever shocked your pool and then paused when you came back later because the water looked greener? Not cloudy, not a little off, actually greener. And nothing else looked wrong. That's the moment that makes people hesitate, because it feels like you did the right thing, but you made it worse. This video isn't about fixing that yet. It's about understanding why that actually happens. Because once you see what actually changed, this stops feeling random. You didn't ignore the pool. You noticed the water looked a little dull, maybe slightly tired. And you did what responsible pool owners do. You added shock, the pump still sounded normal, the filter pressure didn't spike, nothing looked broken, everything looked fine except the water. Now it looks worse than before, and that's where most people get stuck. Here's the part that almost no one explains. People think that shock cleans your pool. Well, it doesn't. Shock changes what's already in the water, and that difference explains what you're seeing now. This is the relationship that matters. Shock kills algae, that algae becomes visible. That's it. One action, one result. Before shock, algae is alive and hard to see. After shock, it isn't invisible anymore. Before you shocked the pool, the water probably didn't look bright green. It just looked dull, flat, or a little tired. That's because living algae blends into the water. Once you add shock, that algae dies. And when it dies, it breaks into tiny particles that float freely throughout the pool. The pool didn't suddenly get worse, it showed you what was already there. It's a little like dust in sunlight. You don't notice it in a dim room. But when the light hits just right, you can't unsee it. Shock is that light. This is why it didn't feel serious earlier. Living algae spreads quietly. Dead algae announces itself. So when the water turns greener after shock, it feels sudden, even though the condition didn't start that day. Shock is oxidizing. Its job is to change what's in the water, not make the pool clear right away. There's a short window where the water can look worse before anything gets better. This gap is where most confusion lives. Most people expect adding shock equals clear water. What actually happens is you add shock, the problem becomes visible, then clarity shows up later. This is also why this surprises so many people. Shock is usually talked about as a fix, not as a change. So when the water looks worse, it feels like something failed, even though it didn't. That's why this moment feels frustrating. You did something responsible, you waited, and visually, things turned out in the wrong direction. Without understanding what actually changed, the natural reaction is to add more. But most pool problems don't show up from not doing enough. They show up from not understanding what stage your pool is actually in. Here's the signal to notice next time. When the pool looks worse after action, that's usually feedback, not failure. It's the water revealing information, not creating a new problem. This is a sentence to remember. Shock didn't cause the problem. It revealed what was already there. It just turned the lights on. Once you understand that, this moment stops feeling alarming. It starts making sense. Now, if you want to know what happens when you raise pH in a pool, watch here.